Hey everyone, thanks for joining me again, and today we're taking a look at an amplifier. Today we have the Douk H7 Pro. This is a stereo amplifier, Class D, using the Texas Instrument 3255 chip. And this unit came with a 32 volt power supply capable of 65 watts into 8 ohms. So let's take a look at the build quality. Aluminum all the way around. It's a nice kind of gunmetal with a specular finish, a little bit of shine to it. We have a couple of orange rings around a pair of VU meters. We have a balance knob, which feels really nice. And then we have our volume pot right here. Finally, a toggle switch with off, the XLR input, and the RCA input. On the back side, we have our XLR ins, RCA in, we have an RCA out, and this is a variable out, so it does go up and down when you turn the volume pot, which makes it super easy to integrate a powered sub or two. And finally, our speaker outs. Once again, these are the little mini ones. Banana plugs work fine, spades work fine, as long as they're not the really large spades, and bare wire up to around 12 gauge, but you will have to tighten it up pretty tight. And finally, our DC in. This will take from 24 volts up to 48 volts DC. On the bottom of the unit, you have a couple little slots where you can drop in a little Phillips screwdriver and adjust the sensitivity of the VU meters, as well as some little rubber feet that help keep the unit nice and stable. The lights on the VU meters cannot be defeated, nor can they be dimmed. If you have the toggle set to off, they're off. If you go into either the XLR or the RCAs, they're on. The H7 Pro styling is one of its standout features. I think it's one of those styles that you're either going to love or you're not going to want in your system. If you're tired of the same old black boxes and you want something a little bit different, this unit definitely has character. If you want to be a little more inconspicuous, then this might not be the amplifier for you. I personally think it's fun. I like the curved side panels. I think it'd look great in an office. It might be a talking point if you have people over, but would also look great on your bookshelf. So the build quality, great for the price point, coming in at $129. You definitely get what you pay for. Now as for listening impressions, I compared this unit as an integrated amplifier compared to my Jongsan JA1 preamp and Iota VX PA3 power amp. That preamp being a stepped attenuator and that power amp being a class AB capable of 50 watts per channel at 8 ohms. So 65 watts versus 50 watts, I thought it was close enough for a decent comparison. And here's what I heard. The lows on the Iota VX were slightly deeper, a little punchier, and a little bit fuller. The lows on the H7 Pro were more accurate, a little bit faster and tighter all around. The mids on the H7 Pro were a little bit more forward. Vocals seemed to be around 4 or 5 inches, a little bit closer, as opposed to the Iota, which was a little more laid back in the vocal range. Female vocals were a little bit softer on the Iota, whereas with the Douk, a little bit crisper and more defined edges. And the highs seemed to sizzle a little bit more on the Douk as well. Nothing harsher or natural. My biggest surprise comparing an $130 integrated with a $1,000 separate system was the soundstage. The soundstage stayed intact with both amplifiers. The width and the depth were the same. The only thing that really changed was that placement of the vocals, a little bit farther back on the Iota versus a little forward on the Douk as they specified, but not by much, just a few inches. I've heard larger differences by changing DACs. So my final takeaway is the sound quality you get out of these little amplifiers is amazing. The H7 Pro in particular gives you a beautiful sounding output, plenty of power with decently efficient speakers. If you have a little bit more demanding speaker, then by all means, get that 48 volt power supply. For me, the 32 volt was perfect. And I think this is another winner, $129, a solid amplifier. All right guys, on part 2, I'll have the sound demos. I'll play one track with the H7 Pro, and then I'll play that same track over with the Iota. And finally, I'll play a track where I'm jumping back every 10 seconds between the two. See if you can catch it. Listen for the bass notes. I don't know how much you'll pick up on the mids and highs, but I think the biggest difference will be heard in the bass. But it isn't very much difference at all. Thanks for watching. See you on the next one.